Okay, our next question, I just kind of took control. I'm so sorry. Our next
Good. I love it. Go.
was talking about a defining moment of inequality, of racial inequity. Do you want to go first or would you like me to?
I don't care. You decide.
How about you go?
Okay. Well, I guess first of all, for those who don't know this about me, I grew up in a very rural farming community, very small town, all white people. So for sure, the first 18 years of my life, really no diversity, none. I will say the question though is like the first time, a defining moment of racial inequity. And I think when I really started to learn or relearn and unlearn was when I was on the board of directors for the YWCA McLean County, and their mission is to eliminate racism and empower women. And so we did a lot of board educational pieces. And I was in one of those sessions with my peer board members, and a very fabulous, wonderful woman who is Black shared at the table, just looked right across the table at me and said, well, have you ever been followed around in Target when you go shopping? And that moment just sticks with me. I can see her saying it. I can see her face right now. And the reality is, no, I'm not followed around Target when I go to Target. And I will just protect her identity and not say her name, but she's always dressed to the nines. You know what I mean? Like just dressed like, and she said to me, I have to dress like this because if I go to Target in jeans and a t-shirt, then I'm followed around. And I use Target loosely. Like I'm not trying to say that they're the only retailer that does that. The point is, she as a Black woman is automatically seen as a potential incident, threat. And I'm not, because of the color of my skin. In that moment at that board meeting, I just remember thinking about it for so long afterwards, because I hadn't ever experienced that or thought of what that would feel like until at that time. And I would say I was in my 30s at that point, so that's hard to admit, but I was in my 30s then. I mean, what I would give to be in my 30s now, but that's my defining moment, I guess.
That's a good one. And I hate to do this to you, but I'm so sorry. It is interesting to me that moment happened to you in your 30s, where like, I'm not even 30 yet. And
I know.
I struggled to pick a moment. So I've written down quite a few, but I will only share one in detail. So I was not born in a small town, thankfully. I was born in the big city of Peoria, Illinois, the urban metropolis of Peoria. And no hate, no shade, I love me some Peoria. But I went to a very, very small private school. I know we've talked about this, and my mom worked there. She started working there when I was in 4th grade, but very great. You could say I was the only brown person in my class, me, my brother, and then I think there was in this school of maybe 200, there was probably never more than like 7, Black or brown people of color. The years that I was there, I would say that's probably safe to say. And I said, I just posted this big, huge Facebook status. Like, I do remember in 4th grade being at the cafeteria table and everybody calling me a caramel frappuccino, which is whatever. And, but maybe it's not that bad, but I do remember it as a defining moment. But when I really think about like a defining moment of racial inequity, I remember specifically in 5th grade, we had to read the book, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. I don't know if you've read it.
I haven't read this book.
I hated it. I hated it because, and I remember no details. I remember it was about an African-American family. I think it was maybe maybe post-Civil War times, or maybe, I don't know. It was late 1800s, mid 1800s. And in each book, okay, well, it wasn't in each book. In most of the books, they had tried to take a black Sharpie and take out all the N words. And I remember in not all the books, like in some of the books, you could see through it. So everybody was like, oh, okay, you can see the word, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh no, because I obviously had heard of that word. I heard it was a word that we didn't use. And so I just assumed that people did not say that word because it was just assumed. And that was the first time I realized that, oh my gosh, like there were points in history where this word was just commonplace. And I think obviously I've heard that word used since then. And I remember being so embarrassed and like, so it was like on specific pages and I was like, oh my God, we're going to read the chapter today that has the word in it. I'm going to be so embarrassed. I'm the only, like, I'm in a sea of all these people. I am the sea. There was like 12 kids, but I am the only brown person. Like, is everybody going to think about me when we read this? What are they going to think about me? I don't want them to think that I'm any different. And that was a really, that was just so, and it sounds so dumb because so many people have had so many, that was very, very tame, but yeah, that was horrible. I don't even really like thinking about it just because now looking back, I'm so embarrassed of myself because I did, like, I shouldn't have been. I should have been proud, but I was just so, I was so taken aback by the fact that I was so different.
I don't think you should be embarrassed about that. I mean, I really don't.
No, but now I'm embarrassed because like I should have just owned it. But I mean, also, 10-year-old Haley was a little different than woke, nearly 25-year-old Haley, you could say.
Yeah, well, 10-year-old Cathy had plenty of things to be embarrassed about. So,
And I will also say, I was just always growing up. I didn't really think anything about this, but I just saw a post about it. People always have told me that I'm not a real Black person or that I act white. I'm not Black. And that's just so wrong.
right,
Like,
hard.
it's just so wrong because being Black is not a set of characteristics or traits. So, and then because I remember when I was young, I was like, yeah, see, I'm not even Black. I'm white. I act white. I am white. Well, my mom's white, but my dad's Black and I am Black. So it is what it is.
I'm going to take us down a rabbit hole.
Take us.
I'm reading right now, and I might get the title wrong. I think it's called The Vanishing Half, and it's a fiction novel about twin sisters, twin sisters who live in a town in, I want to say, Louisiana, that is made of all of Black people who are light-skinned, who can pass. And in that book, I think it's really interesting. I'm only about maybe 15% in. It's very engaging. I just started it yesterday. They talk, like the author or the characters talk about passing and when they would pass intentionally, and then how sometimes they also then used that like as a measuring, a way to measure, like, well, you're not Black enough. Or I think that, I guess I'm sharing this, I said it was a rabbit hole, sorry. Just that that's a real thing, that not that it's a real thing that happens to more than just you as a person who has, biracial parents. Just it happens even with people whose both parents who are
right.
Black may have one child who has very dark skin and another child who has lighter skin, and there's still some internal hierarchy. At least I understand from the reading that I've done. Yeah. I don't understand it, but that, again, rabbit hole in a book that I'm reading right now.